Okay, so maybe we should make a start. I'm not sure how many people are going to be attracted to this fabulous presentation, and I'm not quite sure exactly what the original intention for it was, but I'm here, and so Shane and Stuart's here as well, and I guess we're going to be talking about the partner program, and if we get bored of that, we can just talk about whatever we like in terms of Moodle and related things. So at the moment, I talked to Michael, Moodle and online dating. I talked to Michael Blake, who is the partner manager, and he probably would have taken this session instead of me normally, but unfortunately he's busy right now, and this was the time for it. And so I guess it's down to me. Normally, for those people who don't know me, which is, I don't know, I think I know pretty much everyone here reasonably well. I don't think I've actually met you in person, Vinny, but yeah, anyway, yeah, fine. I won't do any grand introductions then, except to say that I'm the development manager at Moodle HQ, which means that when something goes wrong, I get the blame. Is that how it works? All right. Okay. All right. Well, getting stuck into it. So yeah, if you're going to tweet Salvatore, and then the world will know how fabulous everything is here at the iMoot. Now, one of the things that I was just having a discussion with Michael Blake is there's a lot of different models of free around these days, including apps on phones and so on have become more and more free, but then they take on some sort of other model to allow you to give money to the developers and keep development going. So I guess Moodle is sort of more of an original open source free project. We don't rely on sales, at least of the product. We don't rely on a freemium model in the sense that you can have the free version, but if you want more features, you have to pay a bit more or pay something. And we don't make money out of ads. We don't plant ads in Moodle. That would be kind of probably frowned upon, I guess, if we force people to have ads in their Moodle instances. So, the question is, well, how does Moodle survive? I mean, there has to be some sort of model to keep it going, and the sort of economics of Moodle really comes down to this notion of partners. It's funny. I sort of, get paid a salary on a regular basis, thank goodness, and I can feed my kids and send them off to school and things like that. And you talk to other people and you explain that you work for Moodle, and more people are recognizing what Moodle is and know where it's used and that sort of thing. But then they go, hang on, how can you work for Moodle? Isn't Moodle free? And you go, yes, it's free. You can get it for free, and you can use it for free. And then you explain how, where the money comes from, and ultimately it is coming from the partners. At least, well, probably more than 95% of the income to the Moodle project comes in from the partners. No, Tim, there probably would be more. Tim's asked if there should be more logos. There are more logos, but there's some that are sort of double ups, and some partners have sort of double organizations and things like that. But I grabbed these yesterday, so they're pretty up to date. Oh, you want 2 logos, do you, Shane? Fine. Yeah. So like I said, some of them are regional logos of the same company. But anyway, we move on. Cool. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so the simple sort of drilling down to it is that the partners have an agreement with Moodle, and in exchange for things I'll discuss later, they contribute back 10% of their income to Moodle. There is a flat fee as well of $1,000 Australian per year, but yeah, I think it is. I've got numbers in a minute. I think it is in the 50s. I've got some more. So yeah, so they contribute 10% of their income, and that becomes the main source of income for the Moodle project. Where are the other sources? It's usually donations. Some larger universities do contribute some money to Moodle, to the project, and there are some organisations around the world that also contribute. And then there's sort of ad hoc donations that come in to the Moodle Trust from around the world. One of the ones I like to suggest as one of these smaller alternate sources is, say, the Moodle Association of Japan. Each year they run a moot in Japan, and they aim to make a small profit, and then they send that profit to the Moodle project, which is really, really great. And so that supports Moodle, and Moodle supports them. So really, if you want to support Moodle, you can support the partners. So supporting the partners supports Moodle as sort of in an indirect way, but it is a financial support to Moodle. So you're getting a service by using a Moodle partner, and in return, Moodle also gets supported, so the Moodle itself and the project continues on. And I'll talk about sort of the benefits each way as well in a minute. It's worth noting the Moodle partner logo there, and the name certified services provider. These are the credentials that Moodle partners have that other people who are providing similar services don't get. They get that trademark, and they get to use the name. So these are the numbers that I got from Michael Blake yesterday. So 59 partners. Maybe we shot up 3 since Edinburgh, I'm not quite sure. And apparently that covers 37 countries around the world. So it's quite a global sort of coverage there, and yeah, and then certainly there's a large number, and it's grown since I sort of started working with the project. I think it's grown more than 20. So it's something that's happening still and growing, so which is great. This model is still working. It's working well. So what do the partners do? Well, they do quite a lot of different things. Hosting is one of the main things. So it doesn't, anyone can take Moodle and set it up and install it, but to have it running in a reliable way and to provide service that's scalable to a large number of people takes a fair bit of effort. So if you're really wanting to do it seriously, Moodle partners do a pretty good job. Training, so if you've got staff that need to have a look at, oh hello Natalie, have a look at Moodle, supports related, maintenance of your Moodle site, whether it's hosted by them or not. Development, so that's customization and so on as well, consulting, installation. So they're there to provide the services that you might expect from a commercial provider. It really means that at Moodle HQ, where I work, we are freed up to focus on improving Moodle, and that's what we do at Moodle HQ. We so basically try and as closely as we can follow the community's desires, which is sometimes hard to judge because it's quite a large community and a lot of people wanting different things, but it allows us to focus on those sorts of things at Moodle HQ, so that and leave the sort of more service-oriented activities to our partners, and they focus on the services and entrust most of the development then to us at Moodle HQ. So it's a pretty good relationship, and it's been working well now for quite a number of years, and as I said, it's a growing thing. What do the partners have to do? Well, not anyone can just come up and say, I want to be a Moodle partner. There's an application process. And it's actually harder than I thought it was when I first discovered, what was involved. First of all, you have to have a year's experience of providing Moodle-related services at a certain standard. So you can't just come in and go, well, we're pretty established in doing other stuff. How about we go and do Moodle as well? You've got to actually have demonstrated that you've been working in and around Moodle for quite a number of years, or at least 1 year already. Most of the people that come in for applications have already had that experience for a while already. You have to show that Moodle is going to be your primary activity. So it can't be, we do hosting and Drupal and a fair bit of other stuff, and we're going to do a little bit of Moodle if it suits us. So we want people who are going to be focused on Moodle and become experts in Moodle. You have to show that you're already successful, which kind of means that you have to have certain skills and a certain knowledge. We do get occasionally people coming in and asking to be partners. They've been doing certain things for quite a while, but then they don't necessarily have a sort of expertise that we would expect from someone who's going to basically promote themselves as being a service provider for Moodle as part of the Moodle Partner program. So there are people that do get knocked back because they're judged to be not quite successful enough. One of the other aspects is that you have to show that you've already contributed to the community in some way, and there's lots of different ways that people can contribute. And some partners will do this by, providing plugins, or some will have created themes. Some will be involved in discussions on forums. It could be, bits and pieces all over the place, activity in the tracker and so on. And so that we don't get partners competing against each other too much, you have to be in a potential market. So we don't want to overload certain parts of the world with partners and have them, creating rivalries too much, and then you'll end up with all sorts of sort of bad feelings between the partners. And right now, I don't think it's too bad. So we want to keep the relationships all positive as well. You might ask, well, it's pretty hard to get, and you have to hand over money. What's in it for the partners? What are the benefits of this to the partners? Well, there's a few ways in which Moodle promotes the partners themselves. So there's endorsement on Moodle.com. So basically Moodle.com is a way of showing people this commercial side of Moodle, and one of the major things that happens there is directing people to partners. And there's also ads on Moodle.org, and they tend to be targeted. So if you're from a certain part of the world, you'll probably see ads about Moodle partners in your area. We make recommendations at Moodle HQ. In fact, I'd say 90% of the time when the phone rings at Moodle HQ, if someone manages to find out our phone number and calls us, we tend to redirect them to Moodle partners, because what they're wanting is services, and they assume that they should come to Moodle HQ because they don't necessarily understand this model, and then we sort of refer them to one of the partners in their part of the world, because we get calls from all over the world. Anyway. Other partners too will refer partners to partners. So if they're, in another region, they may say, well, go and talk to these guys. They're pretty good, and they'll be able to help you here locally. There are some ad campaigns. Michael Blake would probably be better to talk about that. So there is promotions of Moodle and Moodle Partners, the Moodle Partner program, on Google AdWords, and there's a few other things as well. There is some standard sort of materials and graphics and logos and those sorts of things that Moodle partners can make use of. There is a Moodle partner forum, so they have like a Moodle site, and some of us, including myself, are sort of registered on that site, and we are watching the forums on that site. So when there's discussions that go on Sometimes there's a fair bit of activity in there, and sometimes there's not. You know, there's a bit more of a relationship between the Moodle partners and Moodle HQ than might exist outside. When there is a release coming, for example, we usually tell the Moodle partners in advance, and when there's security issues and so on, we give them advance notice in there as well. One of the other things too is in relation to fixing of bugs. So Moodle partners tend to be a focus point for a large number of users. So when a Moodle partner is telling us that something needs to be fixed, it's probably because it's come to them a certain number of times or come through a large organization that they're serving. And so it tends to be something that needs to be fixed relatively soon. So we tend to give them a bit more priority than normal. We do this through various means in the tracker. We don't necessarily promote partner bugs above their, real priority too much. We don't want to blow things up. If we can avoid that, it has happened in the past where people have become a bit upset because partner things have been sort of blown up to a higher priority than it probably should have, and then we realise, well, this has gone too far. We need to be realistic about this sort of thing. But as I said, most of the time it tends to be pretty serious when a partner's telling us that something's wrong. They usually tell us in a very good way as well, because partners are working with us a bit more closely than most members of the community. So when we get a partner issue reported, they know what they're talking about, and they know how to report a bug properly, and so we get all the details. We can get development on there pretty quickly as well. And quite often they come with, it might come with a patch as well. It's just a matter of then getting it into Moodle. All right. Well, now I hope that's given you a sense of what the Moodle Partner program is about. I don't know. Someone suggested this was supposed to be a panel. So far, it's just been me talking. We have Shane here. Shane Elliott is, I guess you could say, he's the lead of Pukunui. I don't know. What is your role, Shane? What do you call yourself? We've also got Stuart here, and he's another person who is a partner or involved in a partner organisation. So we've got quite a few people here who are able to answer questions about the partner program or just generally about Moodle. So I guess I would encourage anybody who has questions just to fire them in, and perhaps not just myself, but other people here can have a go at answering them as well. So Guido says that he's earning money with Moodle and he wants to pay something, so you want to contribute back. You don't have to be a partner to pay to contribute to the Moodle program. There is a means of making a donation, but please don't ask me for the details. Has anyone got a link they can share? If you like, I could probably look this up on Monday and talk to Bree. She's our manager of these things. Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. Potentially, if you could get a receipt. Yeah, there you go. Vinny knows. Yeah, I suggest that if you type an email to you type an email to support@moodle.com, Guido, and ask for a receipt for your donation. I suspect we could quite easily produce one for you. Not a problem. Does anyone have any questions about Moodle, Moodle 2.7? What's coming after Moodle 2.7? Oh, Guido, if you didn't get a response, you can try sending it again. Michael Blake and Bree will monitor that particular email account. You can also try sending it to Bree at Moodle.com. She's the operations manager, and if there's someone going to produce a receipt, it'll be Bree. Yeah, it's the MNet question is pretty tricky at the moment. On one hand, we'd like to do away with MNet, but at the moment, the OAuth stuff isn't quite as secure as we'd like it to be. So there's a lot of convenience in OAuth, but yeah, we have to do some work to get that working securely between Moodle sites. Yeah. So at the moment, no, we're still using MNet. It has not gone away. As far as I know, it's still on the to-do list. It's been on the to-do list for quite some time, but yeah, it's not one thing that we're working on quite yet. Years, absolutely, yes, years. For all the time I've been working at Moodle HQ, so that's 3 years, more than 3 years. It still works. It's not great. There are alternatives, but finding a good one that is secure and works well is the challenge. And there's always a lot more demand for other things, it seems. Yeah. So there is already OAuth as an add-on, but putting it in a state where we can say it can replace MNet, I don't think we're quite there yet. I'm not the best person to talk about security-related issues in terms of the notion of SSL and how it works. I'm not a system administrator, but from what I've been told, that's the sticking point at the moment, getting OAuth to work over SSL. I mean, if someone was really interested and wanted to invest in that, we'd happily take a good solution, I think. But anyway. In terms of video, we don't have plans within Moodle HQ for changing it. There are a number of contributed add-ons that can help you with Moodle-related activities that involve video, so recording of video and playing video. So Moodle can do a pretty good job of playing video at the moment. There was a Hackfest discussion about making it better and having fallbacks that work a little more simply. So there are people out there in the community that are working on video-related content and playback sort of solutions. So yeah, at the moment we've got the playback mostly sorted out in Moodle, and if you're interested in recording video within Moodle, I suggest you check out. There's the Poodle. Well, yeah, there's that one. There's also some more standalone type things that are just individually focused on video recording as well. diagram input. Yeah, Poodle has a whiteboard feature as well. So if you're after quick sort of sketches, so if you want to diagrammatically or write down an equation or something like that, if it's quicker to do by hand, I've tried that Poodle plugin and I recommend it. It can you can use it in a forum. You can just quickly sketch out something and append it to your forum response. You can do it in student feedback on an assignment or a quiz. So yeah, it's again, it's just Poodle, P-O-O-D-L-L. It's run by a guy called Justin Hunt. Is he related to you, Tim? And he's in Japan. He's actually a Kiwi. Don't call him an Australian. Just wrong. And then, but he's pretty much focused on that at the moment. He's doing a few other Moodle related things, but not much else. He was an English language teacher over in Japan, but he's found himself being busy enough just to do Moodle stuff. Yeah, he did was it called a Pikachuka? Yep. Yeah, alright. There you go. I got it wrong once. I thought Justin was Australian. He had to correct me. It was terrible. Alright. Kim, Paula, welcome. Sorry, I haven't welcomed you earlier. Have you got any questions either about the partner program or anything you'd like? We've got a fair bit of a brain trust going here. You're quite welcome to ask anything you like. What time is it where you are? There you go. Well, good morning and congratulations for getting up so early. You must be on the other side of the planet. It's 5:30 in the afternoon here. Sun is going down. How far is it? I mean, let's put things into perspective here. From here, where I am, to New Zealand, where Teresa is, it's about 7,000 kilometres. So, Guido, I'm not quite sure where you are, but think of something that's 7,000 kilometres away. There you go. From Munich, you could probably go all the way over to, the Middle East, Uzbekistan or something cool. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, back to Moodle. Is there any questions about Moodle that anyone would like to ask? There was some research that was done. I think hosting and customization tend to be the dominant things that partners provided. Do you remember, Shane, Stuart? There was some graphs and everything. Yeah, it was. Michael Blake, again, I mean, he ran that survey. He'd probably be able to whip those stats out straight away. So, yeah, okay, so talking PHP, we have found significant improvements in performance in more recent versions of PHP. So we're trying to encourage people to go out and grab the latest. If you're on a Linux version which comes with a particular version of PHP and they're slow to catch up with the latest version, you can manually grab the latest version. I'm not sysadmin again, as I mentioned earlier, but I've done it myself, under Linux, which is not my primary operating system most of the time. It's just a matter of adding the right source to your list of what do you call it under Linux, the sources of things that you can update from, and it'll go and grab the right or the latest PHP version. And it's definitely worth it. Getting the sort of the built-in OP cache seems to be doing a lot for Moodle performance. Having that on in production sites is definitely recommended. And just general overall speed, so from 5.3 to 5.5 is quite significantly different. Yeah. Yeah, it's worth doing. Yeah, the rest of, I think, the default Ubuntu install is okay as it is. Yeah, PHP seems to be a bit further behind. Isn't there 14.04 now? I think it's come out. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I thought it had the latest PHP. That's more of a technical thing. I mean, if you've got less technical questions, feel free to ask. If you want to know what's happening at HQ, I'm happy to talk about that. But yeah, if you want to see what a partner's doing, maybe you could ask that. What's going on in partner organisation? How's the weather in Perth? Well, how's the weather usually in Perth? It's that. It's fine and sunny. Not so hot, fortunately. We're out doing a fair bit of gardening today, so I did manage to work up quite a bit of a sweat still. And we're almost in winter. Still shorts weather. Yeah, so who's going to the Moot in Cairns? Sorry. Were you going to say something there, Shane?
Okay, well, I've got a question, only it's not really a question because I don't. Sorry, hello, this is Tim. Since I think it doesn't have an answer, but anyway, I'm going to try and say it anyway. There's a problem that happens, which is basically we end up with multiple implementations of certain things. So the answer that immediately springs to mind is customized reporting. There's the one in Totara that Moodle HQ are reviewing now. There's the one in Ellis. There's the one in Joule. There's the custom report block. There's our hacky custom SQL query. Apparently, How to Moodle in the UK have just made their own custom reporting system. So that's one example. And then in forums, you've got the standard forum, you've got the OU's forum NG, you've got Moodle Room's advanced forum. So in one way, this is good. Moodle is a platform. The fact that lots of people are building cool stuff on top of it shows it's a platform you can work with. But on the other hand, for the community, it's kind of confusing. It's much easier with standard Moodle, where there's just one way of doing something and it works. So I suppose if I'm trying to justify that this is a question, is there anything the Moodle Partners Network could do to try and reduce this duplication, or is it just kind of impossible?
Well, I certainly wouldn't point the finger at partners for being at fault for any of this. I think a lot of them are quite happy to offer up their solutions, and we do look at them, and we have adopted many of them as part of Moodle. It's not always the case that we jump straight onto things. It depends on what the public wants. To many sort of, some of it comes down to voting, some of it comes down to whether there are other sort of more pressing things that the community wants HQ to work on. But to get things integrated into core isn't a matter of just slipping it in most of the time. It takes quite a fair bit of work to make sure that it gets integrated. And when things are large scale, like a whole module or something like that, quite often it can be quite arduous. But yeah, like for example, at the moment, we're looking at the advanced forum, and we're looking at the various reporting solutions, trying to come up with something there. But at the same time as well, we want to allow partners to have some commercial advantage. We don't want them to immediately turn over all of their innovations and their solutions and just sort of offer them up to the community immediately, because then they would lose out on any advantage that they've gained by developing this sort of customization. So there's a bit of a balancing act to go on there. Let's go to a partner to get their side of the story. Can you talk, Stuart? I can unmute you if you would like it. Yeah, go for it. I can hear noises. You tap dancing, Stuart?
Sorry, no, I think that was me leaning on my desk. My mic's still on. Actually, I wanted to make 2 follow-up points while Stuart's getting ready. I think it's worth making the point for non-developers that reviewing someone else's code and understanding it properly and deciding whether it's safe to adopt is actually quite difficult. It's almost easier to develop something from scratch yourself, because then you fully understand what it does. Using someone else's code is not actually an easy thing at all. I think it's worth acknowledging that. On the other hand, someone else's code, they will probably have encountered lots of problems that you haven't even thought of yet and solved them. So you need to actually also recognize that even though it's seems quite difficult for you as a developer, it's probably worth going to that effort. The other thing, I think the kind of review process for getting stuff into core is very, very good. It has a lot of strengths. But I sometimes wonder if in some situations where we don't yet have a solution that passes all the checks, is it actually better sometimes for the community to accept just a fairly good solution, because having a fairly good solution in core is better than having no solution or having a perfect solution in 3 years' time? And again, I don't really know the answer to that. It's another.
No. And then the other alternative is to make use of the plugins repository. But then, as you said, having everything in the plugins repository can lead to confusion if there are alternatives. But at the same time, we've been working a lot to try and make those things simpler for people to access and use. And we're trying to improve the sort of notion of how well people can trust things in that plugins repository. There's a bit of work going on there now. And Shane says, even though he could probably speak it if he wanted to, that he likes the possibilities of third-party plugins. I like that, and our clients have options. We do have a policy for adding third-party plugins to sites that we host, support, covering code review, ongoing support, etc. Yeah. Stuart, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna just pick up on some points there, and some of them have actually been just extended anyway by the conversation naturally there. I agree with Tim there that it really baffles me in some ways that Moodle is nearly 10 years old now, and I know we've done a lot recently with logging and the event system, but we still don't have, for example, a simple report that a teacher can select multiple courses and get a report for a student and their competencies across a number of courses easily. I think there are things also that are so close. I mean, the configurable reports that Juan has created is really good. Obviously, Tim's plugin is really good, but we've also got other examples like the certificate module, which has been around for a long time. People are obviously using it, and it would be great to have a certificate module in Moodle, in the core of Moodle. Now, as Tim said, it's not easy. And, these things do need code checking to the proper standards. But when we're talking about things that have been, maybe like the certificate module, that have been around for a long time and clearly needed by many people, maybe we should be making more of an effort there. And I guess also tied in with that are things like the feedback module. Now, the feedback module has been in Moodle Core now for a while, but I think it's still disabled in a default by default in a new installation, because there's this concept that questionnaire and feedback are going to be combined, and maybe with survey, and yet that conversation has been 3 years now without anything happening. Now that isn't, I'm not trying to sound critical, because people need the time to do these things, and obviously time is at a premium, but I'm really worried, and I'm really worried by the fact that I think other systems like Canvas are actually able to develop now quicker than we are. And I'm hoping that Moodle is not going to turn into an IBM or a Lotus or a government department that gets so big and complex that it actually can't move fast enough anymore.
I don't think it's complexity that holds us back. It's more manpower. I would say certificate, while it's widely used, is not well coded and would not be distributed with core. It'd have to be rewritten. And Mark, who's taken over the support of certificate, was recoding it. I don't know how far he's gotten with that. There's also been a simple certificate brought out, but no, the coding on that original certificate module, while it was a great concept and people liked using it, it was really poor code. There was the forums, the feedback stuff. Yeah, it's still ongoing. I don't know if we're going to change our approach to changing or combining those modules, because it has taken so much longer than originally promised to get that rewritten. It's not on the 2.8 roadmap for us to do at HQ, so I guess we're still entrusting that to, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's still working on it, and every time I've talked to him he says it's not far away, so yeah, anyway. Yeah, I have similar worries sometimes to Stuart in terms of the future of Moodle, but in saying that, I suspect that it's not going to always be this way, and I doubt we're going to end up to be too bloated. If anything, we're too small, and we need to get bigger in order to support people better and to be able to change quicker. And we've built up a lot of reliance on the plugins, but while that's also been something of a dependency, it's also a strength, and I think we also need to continue enhancing that, and so we're still investing in that at HQ. There's now sort of 1.5 people working on that full time, and we're getting some serious improvements happening in that system. Nice, Guido.
So another random thought from me. I'm just wondering if the blocker is actually developer time or something else, because like with one of these things like certificate, really the difficult job is understanding all the options out there and how much more work is required to get them into core, and what people need from a certificate module in Moodle. So it's not exactly a development task. I suppose you could call it an analyst task. And you know, that kind of at Moodle basically boils down to Martin, who is very, very good at it and very good at, you know, understanding what users need from Moodle. He's often got decisions right before I even understood the problem, and I thought he was doing the wrong thing, and it turned out I was wrong. But that's kind of a bottleneck.
Yes. Yeah. Dorothy suggests crowdsourcing, and that's something that's currently being built into the plugins directory, which you might support. So if you would like to have a plugin developer customize their plugin in a certain way, or just if people propose plugins, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work yet. I suspect we'll be using a third-party crowdsourcing system, and then just attaching it to the plugins directory for add-ons. In terms of what happens in core, I would say our model of financing is through the partners, and we're looking at how we can make more use of that. But I mean, considering that the partners are growing, put it into perspective. When I first started at Moodle HQ, which was about 3.5 years ago now, we only had about 10 people in the Perth office, and now we've got almost 25, and we're hiring another person right now. We've just picked up 3 new staff. It's happening. So.
Michael, sorry, Shane here. I just wanted to jump in with the plugins.
Yep.
I have this thought that part of it is just because a plugin is widely used and it might be completely well written, it's still not a case for it to be in the core code. Because I think, you know, Martin has an idea of what Moodle should be. He has his 5 laws. He guides the development, and the whole plugin structure is just built around the fact that you can have these additional plugins. And I actually think it'd be great if there was a bank of third-party plugins that were just so well written, and you knew that they could upgrade between versions quite happily. So certificate, taking as an example, it'd be great if that code was just nailed. It was just as good as the code that's in the core Moodle. You knew that it was well maintained. For every version, there's going to be a new certificate version. But I don't think that makes a case for it to be in the core code. I just think it makes a case that if people are using it widely, then it just somehow it needs to be supported. I think you need to look at those mechanisms, because you know, you could conceptually think there's another 100 different types of plugins that people use that would be great to have. It would probably bloat Moodle itself, the core, and to me that's the strength of the plugin structure. You pull in the ones you want. So I think a lot of the effort should be in really nailing those plugins, getting the code up to standards. And I know you guys are doing work on that too, with the plugins database at Moodle.org, getting those code reviews in place and so on. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and
what I'm leaning towards is that not bloating Moodle up with all the things, but Moodle has its core. It's focused on what it does, but there's some great plugins you can count on and rely on.
Yeah. I guess perhaps, I mean, if we have sort of 20 odd developers at Moodle HQ who are responsible for maintaining both the core code and the standard plugins that come with that when we distribute Moodle, if you add another plugin it comes with a certain amount of overhead, and you have to look at this a bit historically. When Moodle first started, it was just Moodle, and there was this notion of plugins that could be added, and then people contributed, and everything that everyone contributed sort of got bundled up with Moodle until Moodle 1.6, and then there was a decision made, because there was this bloat coming about, that Moodle was getting too big, and then there was a sort of separation between what was considered to be contributed code and what was considered to be Moodle core with the standard plugins. And now we're sort of almost working in the opposite direction, and some of the plugins that are no longer being used, or we don't think we need to focus on anymore, are being taken out of Moodle. You might have noticed that with Moodle 2.7, we've taken a lot of the themes, except for a couple of very sort of core themes, and we've actually removed them from the standard distribution and put them into the plugins directory. It seemed to make sense that we wanted to simplify the offering that we had. It was getting a bit confusing, and people weren't necessarily using these themes, and therefore previously we had to maintain them at Moodle HQ, and so we were looking at reducing that. Anyway, one other aspect too about plugins is quite often plugins in the plugins directory are downloaded, but we don't advertise how often they're actually in use. So this happens a lot with themes. People go shopping for themes, and they don't necessarily use all of the themes that they download, or plugins in general. We are starting to get a sense of how often plugins are being used in Moodle. We get statistics through what people try to update, and we're hoping to incorporate some of that information into the plugins directory, so that you'll be able to see not just how many times something is being downloaded, but how widely it's actually used. I would suspect that a lot of plugins are downloaded once and then tried, and then if they don't satisfy the person using it, then they're just not used. So that'll get a bit more realistic sense of how widely used some of these plugins are. Trying to get a good trust model going is something that's really topical at the moment. It came up in the Hackfest at the UK, and it is something that people really need. I mean, we need a system that's as strong as something on eBay, so that people can look at plugins and have confidence that if they download it, it's going to work. If anyone would like to be a reviewer of plugins on the plugins directory, talk to David Mudrick. I was just about to say that we would like to invite you to be involved, and we don't want to hand this out to everybody. We want to sort of offer it to people that we know are involved in the Moodle community, so that anyone in general can make a comment on a plugin, but we want people to do reviews, and we want partners to do reviews. We want people to be able to do reviews that sort of focus on what they're interested in as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be an all-covering review, so it doesn't have to be something that covers security and code quality as well as usability and all these sorts of things. If you're just interested in the usability from a teacher's perspective, you're quite welcome to contribute that. Yeah, well, at the moment we don't have enough reviewers, so we'd like to open that up a bit more and get more people involved. There's really only about 3 or 4 people doing it, and they don't cover everything, so they cover the ones that they're interested in, so it'd be good to spread that around. All right, well, it's getting close to the hour. Perhaps we should start to wrap this up. So got a bit of discussion going on about having people writing reviews. What could we learn from WordPress, Guido? Yeah. Getting the resources into the plugins directory is very important. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds about right. Dinner time. We've still got people, it's probably getting to 5 a.m. for some people. Breakfast time. All right. Look, one thing I often do at the end of presentations is I put in a request to people to send us postcards, and sometimes people do. See that address there? Moodle 1/224 Lord Street, Perth 6000, Australia. That's our actual address. If you'd like to, just put that on a postcard and send it over and just say hello. We have a postcard wall, and we love getting postcards from all over the world. So, yeah, chuck one in there, and we really appreciate it. It really lets the developers at HQ know that they're appreciated, and sometimes we have to remind them. So, publish the postcards. I have on a couple of occasions taken a photo of the postcard wall. Maybe I should do it again. You send me one, Guido. I'll take another photo.
Hi,
Right,
Michael.
well,
this is Vinny. I just thought I'd jump in and say on behalf of the iMoot team, thank you very much for presenting again this year.
Right. Yep. Thanks for allowing me to be involved, and thanks to everybody else who's here, because this was meant to be a bit more of an open discussion, and I'm glad there were other people here to answer questions.
It's great. Yeah. Thanks to especially Tim and Stuart and Shane for their input. And enjoy the rest of the iMoot.
Right. See you later, guys.